You know, when a Primarch loses their life, it's considered a very drastic and catastrophic moment, both for the Legion and for the story and narrative altogether. It's not something that's taken lightly, and when it does happen, it's usually something that shatters the setting built around it. For the Legion as a whole, though, whoever their Gene Father is that loses their life, they end up becoming distraught in a variety of different ways, and they will suffer accordingly. For us as the reader, when we do see the Primarch lose their life, it's something that many of us can feel sympathetic for, because as I just said, we will soon see the saddening effects as to how it will affect the Legion. And as the reader, we can't help but feel sympathetic. Except for me when it comes to the Iron Hands and Ferrus Manus, because they freaking suck. I got this request in my Discord. Feel free to join via the link in my bio, and I will not stop at any opportunity to slander the Iron Hands because I think they're just that dumb. The request very clearly states that the Iron Hands ended up creating a Ferrus Manus clone, for a lack of a better description. Actually, there is a better description. It was more so like an inanimate golem. For many of us that do know, and just in case, if any of you don't know, Ferrus Manus did lose his life at the Dropsite Massacre when fighting his brother Fulgrim. Fulgrim would decapitate the Primarch of the Iron Hands, and this is where we would all come to learn the first time a Primarch would quote-unquote lose their life. The quotations are there just in case anybody wants to reference the two lost Primarchs. We're not here to talk about them, but in short, Ferrus Manus did in fact lose his life. Fulgrim would keep Ferrus Manus' head and eventually gift it to Horus, while in the meantime, many of the traitor forces would dogpile on top of Ferrus Manus, tearing him limb from limb and keeping souvenirs. But for reference, it wasn't just the traitors that would take souvenirs from Ferrus Manus' corpse. The Loyalists, most specifically the Iron Hands, would also find a way to take one of Ferrus Manus' hands or a part of his arm at the very least. You know, the thing that makes him Ferrus Manus of the Iron Hands. In short, many of the Loyalist legions that were at the Dropsite Massacre would become the Shattered Legions. And of the Iron Hands, those that would form somewhat of a council to lead whatever was remaining of that proud legion, they were now effectively leaderless and needed that void to be filled. I've talked about it before. Shadrach Medusan would step up and take that position of leadership, in my opinion, extremely well. He gave the Iron Hands a direction to lead and also a path to look forward to. But because of the fact that Shadrach wasn't of Medusan origin, and the fact that the Iron Hands are way overly proud and stupid, they did not see Shadrach as a good enough fit to be the next potential leader. So with the remaining hand or arm of Ferrus Manus, some of these individuals would end up constructing a sort of golem. It was barely animate, but nonetheless, they deemed it Ferrus Manus. They built armor around it and kind of shaped it in the best way that they can to resemble their long-lost father. The council that would then eventually betray Shadrach would deem it that this is the newly revitalized Ferrus Manus and would once again lead their proud legion. Mind you, when I say barely animate, it was only the metallic arm that was really able to move, not so much anything else. Despite this, they would say that they would take orders from it and that it was fit to lead as their newly reawakened father. Very rational and logical for such a proudly deemed rational legion, right? Despite all the effort that went into creating it, as well as the salvaging of one of Ferrus Manus' hands and arms, this wouldn't last very long. The golem's fate would meet its demise at the very end of a familiar hammer, one belonging to one of Ferrus Manus' brothers. It would be none other than Vulcan that would witness the abomination that was his quote-unquote brother. He slandered those Iron Hands around him, cursing them for their atrocities on whatever they committed of what was left of his brother, to which he would then raise his hammer and bring it down upon whatever was left of Ferrus Manus' arm, utterly obliterating it and removing whatever was left. The legion that claims they solely operate off of statistics and rationale was smoking the hardest amount of copium in trying to bring back whatever was left of their father, and it couldn't even speak. It was barely able to lift its hand. And that was apparently good enough for them. Sure, you can argue PTSD and everything, which I get it. Many of them did witness their father lose his life, but for, once again, one of my largest complaints, a legion that proudly claims itself as coldly logical as steel and iron, they do absolutely everything besides working rationally. But with that being said, thank you Apollos for the request, and I hope you all enjoyed this video. Drop a comment if there's anything you guys want to hear about next. Remember to join the Discord and to follow for more.